My sister called me crying on her wedding night, saying her husband wasn't the man she married that morning. I still hear my sister's voice like it's lodged in my ribs, thin and high and not meant for 3 a.m. cries. Even now, weeks later, the sound can bring me back to the backseat of my car on a dark highway, gripping the steering wheel like a lifeline and answering the phone with a voice that wasn't mine. Because hers wasn't capable of being anything but broken. Her name is Nora. She is 32, runs a small floral shop downtown, and for as long as I can remember, she's been the person who organizes everyone else's life. The birthdays, the sympathy bouquets, the emergency casseroles after funerals. She's orderly to the point of stubbornness, which is why seeing her call me in the middle of her wedding night made no sense at all. Weddings to her are spreadsheets and playlists and backup plans. She's the kind of person who frets about the forks. She married Adam that afternoon. The wedding was, in classic Nora form, perfect in its execution, if messy in its emotional clarity. They were both beaming, that kind of grin that makes you want to take a picture and lock it in an amber jar. He's tall, a little gawky with a voice that dips jokingly low when he's being flirtatious, the kind of man whose smile crinkles his whole face. He and Nora had met in a plant shop 3 years ago. She was buying succulents for a display. He was trying to keep a cactus alive for the life of him. They fell in a slow, sensible way that felt right to everyone who watched them. The ceremony was in the little glass conservatory at the Arboretum, the one with the pale wood benches and the wall of silvered ferns. Nora insisted on doing her vows in a particular order. Old promises, then the new da, and she cried halfway through my reading because she said my line made her remember when we were kids and we played weddings in the yard with plastic tiaras. Adam's vows were the usual. Jokes about who does the dishes. A ridiculous promise to always let her have the last bite of dessert. He made her laugh until she hiccuped. And when he slid the ring on her finger, his hands were the hands of a man thrilled and utterly terrified of how much he loved her. Everything about the day suggested continuation. The band was good. The food was better. Uncle Ray's toast made 3 people cry and 10 people laugh about his high school misadventures. I remember thinking, as I tucked stray hairs into Nora's veil and told her how beautiful she looked, that this would be the story she would tell forever. The day she got everything she wanted. The reception dwindled around midnight. People trickled away in taxis and designated driver smiles. Nora and Adam left hand in hand to the bridal suite above the reception hall, and a few of us stayed to help the venue staff pack away the linens. They were in my peripheral vision as we loaded boxes, laughing, elbows brushing, 2 people who'd just been declared confidants for life. Then, sometime between carrying a stack of plates and wiping down a table, I noticed Adam walk out of the suite and stand with his back to the window for a moment, hands clenched at his sides, jaw working like he was chewing on a problem. He looked like someone realizing they'd forgotten an obligation, or someone who'd been told a joke they didn't want to laugh at. He caught my eye and forced a wave that was too bright, too smooth. "Everything okay?" I asked, because at a wedding you ask it more politely than you actually feel. "Fine," he said, "just thinking." He gave me that strained smile again and walked back inside. I should have said something, I know that now. The whole human brain can be a library of things you don't say, even to people you love. Instead, we finished packing. The venue closed, and later I watched them climb the narrow stairs, their silhouettes soft against the hotel's dim corridor light. I waved and told myself I could sleep when the world fell quiet. At 2:15 in the morning, my phone rang. I almost didn't pick up. You always know how late is too late for a call after a wedding. Past midnight and before breakfast is a dangerous window, where people say things they regret, or nothing at all. But it was Nora's name flashing, her picture from that afternoon's photos making my chest ache with a small, stupid joy. I answered, "Babe, are you okay?" What came through was not okay. "Not," she sobbed, a small sound that began in her throat and fractured into the line. He's not the man I married this morning." There is a slow, non-heroic way your mind tries to put things back together when a person you love says something impossible. The first impulse is always to strip the edges of the word not smooth, tired, drunk, overwhelmed, too emotional after the reception. Post-wedding meltdown. Maybe she'd had too much champagne. "Nora, what do you mean? Are you okay? Did he do something?" I said, but my voice sounded too loud in the line. She hiccuped, and a low moan bubbled. He stood up and he looked at me like he didn't know me, like I was a stranger who'd wandered in. He called me by a different name. Different name? I laughed at the absurdity, a brittle sound. Like a nickname? Maybe he was trying to be cute. "He said he wasn't married," she said. "He said his name wasn't Adam." My hands went dull. I could picture her in the little suite, nightgown, veil off, mascara smudged, her hair in a lopsided knot she'd made because she couldn't sleep. I could see the ring on her finger like a round, shining question mark. "Okay," I said slowly, because you do not undercut panic with jokes. "Okay, breathe. Is he hurt? Is he cold? Is he—" "No," she said. The word had been stretched so thin it might snap. "He's normal. Too normal. He's sitting on the edge of the bed like he's trying to remember. When I asked if he was okay, he told me I was in the wrong room. He said his name was Michael, and that he'd been hired to fix the caterer's heating, and that he didn't understand why there were flowers on the floor. There was a tiny sound, and the kind that means someone is making a sound they can't contain." I wanted to tell her that this was stress, that dreams and exhaustion make people say nonsense, but what she was saying landed like a stone. "Did you show him your vows? Look at the video from earlier." "Anything?" I asked. He kept rubbing his wrists like they hurt. He kept saying, "I should be somewhere else." He said he had work at 6 in the morning and he needed to leave. When I said Adam, he smiled and said, "I don't know Adam." He asked who Adam was. My car felt like it had been filled with water. The ways the mind sustains itself are stupid and small. I asked for the straightforward straightforward things because human explanations are our scaffolding. Is he coherent? Is he violently ill?
Did anyone see this?
Call the hotel desk. I'll be there. He just asked if I wanted coffee or to leave. He looked at the ring like it was a paperweight. She paused. He touched it and then was like, this is heavy for someone I don't know. Why would you do that to yourself? There are sentences I will never forget writing into the record of my life. That one, the way he called the ring something you tie to your finger like a weight, sits among them. Who else is there? I demanded. Is anyone with you? Guests? Bridesmaids? Hotel staff? Just me, she breathed. I told them I needed to nap. They left.
Hannah. You know Hannah. She texted and I told her to stay, but she said she'd be home by dawn.
I didn't want to wake Adam. I thought maybe I'd sleep and everything would be normal in the morning. I pictured her lying on the bed, the hem of her dress still speckled with confetti, the jewelry box open on the dresser. Her voice came out in a whisper. He asked if I was in a rehearsal. He said he needed to find the catering manager, and that he didn't have time for vows. He called me ma'am twice. He put on a coat, the coat he wore to rehearsal 2 months ago, and he tried to leave. Why didn't you stop him? The question leapt from me. It was a stupid, frantic thing to ask because you always ask it afterwards. What would you do differently? I tried, she said, and the truth in that sentence was visible in the way she inhaled. I touched his arm and he flinched like I'd hit him. He looked right through me. He walked to the door, but then he turned and said very softly, if leaving is what's expected, we should waste no time. The world tightened in my chest. There's a distinction between panic and near-apocalyptic grief that I only learned that night. Panic will throw you small tools, like telling you to breathe. A different kind of grief shrieks for bigger instruments that you don't have. I'm driving, I said. This sentence felt inevitable. Give me the room number. Lock the door. Don't let him out of your sight until I get there. You can't come here, Lena, she said suddenly. She said my name like it was a boat anchor she was trying to throw into deep water. What if it's dangerous? What if he snaps? What if it's not him at all? Not him at all? I echoed, because my brain clung to that hope like a child to a blanket. Nora, what else would it be? This is your wedding night. You said he was himself all day.
He would not. How do I explain this to people?
She said, the question curling like smoke. What do I tell my parents? What do I tell my bride's best friend who just spent 2 years planning this? I'm at a hotel 15 minutes from my own reception. There was a level on which her questions were reasonable. What do you tell people when reality fractures? And 1-4. Another level where hypothetical clarified nothing. Tell the truth, I said. Tell them you need someone. Tell them you aren't making this up. It was both practical and pathetic. Lena, she said after a breath, there's one more thing. My stomach dropped. There's always one more thing. He said his name wasn't Adam, she repeated. He said his name was Michael. When I asked him who Michael was, he said, the plumber from last week. I braked with one hand on the wheel, leaning on the shoulder of the road like a person who was trying to stop their body from answering the rest of the questions. 100 ugly explanations came to mind, all of them medical or horrific in their sweetness. Stroke, dissociative fugue, a seizure, a psychiatric break. I called the name of every emergency number I could imagine. None of them felt immediate enough. Do you want me to call an ambulance? I asked. No, she said quickly. I don't want anyone to take him away. Why not? I demanded. Because when he looked at me earlier, when he was himself, he promised me we'd grow old together, she whispered, that he would take care of the lawn and put up the Christmas lights. I don't want him taken away from me. There is an ambivalence in love that always surprises people who aren't in it. You will defend pieces of someone that the world says are broken simply because they are the pieces you gave your heart to. I understood her. I love in the small, concrete ways, in remembering which takeout she hates, in knowing which of our childhood books made her cry. That is why, even when the rational tools are sharp at the edges, love will blunt them with a hand on the shoulder. Lock the door, I said. Call Hannah back and tell her to stay away until we get there. Don't open the door for anyone. If he tries to leave, if he gets violent, you call me and then you call 911, understand? Yes, she whispered. Okay. I hung up, pulled my bag from the back seat, and started the car. On the way out of the city, the wedding music still in my ears from that afternoon, I called Nate and left a voice message I didn't fully trust. Come over, please. If I don't answer in 5 minutes, call me. I'm going to Nora's. Don't call the police unless I say so. The highway out of town is a black river. The lane lights are impatient diamonds. Headlights of other cars stream past like other people's lives, continuing, uninterrupted, frightening in their normalcy. I drove fast in a way that makes every red light a personal affront. My heart felt like a drum you can only hear when you're far away from the band. As I turned off at the exit for the reception hall, I realized I had forgotten to breathe on purpose. Then I realized I had also forgotten to think of an answer that would be enough. I pulled into the hotel lot, parked, and told myself one thing that sounded both sane and unbearable. When you arrive at an impossible moment, you act with the small tools you have, and you refuse to let the world write the end for you. When I reached the hotel, the lights from the reception had all gone out, replaced by that thin, colorless glow that comes from emergency exit signs and vending machines. The parking lot was nearly empty. A single car, a silver SUV I recognized as Adam's, sat crooked in the far corner, one headlight still faintly glowing like a dying heartbeat. I parked next to it and sat for a second, my pulse refusing to slow. The air outside looked thick, grainy, one of those nights where fog sits low on the pavement, almost alive. I could smell rain coming, sharp and metallic. The lobby was empty. Even the clerk had disappeared. A half-eaten donut and a coffee cup, the only proof someone had been there recently. The place felt suspended in some weird pocket of time, where sound didn't travel and even my own footsteps seemed unsure. The suite was on the second floor, end of the hall. I could see the faint shimmer of light under the door, maybe a lamp. My sister's voice echoed softly through the wood, a muffled sobbing sound that made my hands shake. I knocked. Nora, it's me. A pause. Then a whisper so small I almost missed it. Lena. Lena? It's me, honey. Open up. The door opened an inch. Nora's face appeared, pale, streaked with tears. Her lipstick smudged into the corner of her mouth like she'd wiped it off in a hurry. Her wedding dress was still on, the lace wrinkled and one strap half torn. She looked at me like a child seeing a ghost. Oh, thank God, she whispered. I thought you wouldn't believe me. I do, I said, pushing the door open and stepping inside. Where is he? Her eyes flicked toward the bathroom. In there. He said he needed a shower. He's been in there for almost half an hour. Did you hear the water? She shook her head. No, that's the thing. It's quiet. He's just in there. I turned toward the bathroom. The door was shut. The light was on, a faint warm glow seeping through the crack. Something about it felt wrong. I took a step forward, and Nora caught my arm. Wait, she said. There's more. Her voice was shaking so bad it made my stomach twist. When I told him my name, he smiled and said it was a lovely fake one. Then he asked me where the cameras were. I stared at her. The cameras? He said this was part of the test, that someone told him to wait here and play along, that he was supposed to pretend to be someone named Adam until the end. My mouth went dry. Until the end of what? I don't know. She started crying again, quietly this time. He looked right at me, Lena, and it wasn't him. His face, it's him, but his eyes, they're different. They don't focus the same way, and he doesn't blink. I wanted to tell her it was exhaustion, trauma, stress, all the rational things you reach for when the world stops making sense. But the air in that room didn't feel rational. It felt aware. The bed was a mess. Sheets torn, one pillow on the floor, an open champagne bottle tipped sideways on the nightstand. The window was cracked, letting in a thin whistle of cold air. The whole room smelled like salt and something else, metallic, like wet coins. Then, from behind the bathroom door came a sound, a single, slow knock. Both of us froze. Adam? I said. Silence. Another knock. Slower this time. Deeper. Like it came from inside the walls rather than behind the door. Nora grabbed my hand. He did that before, she whispered. Every time I asked him something, he'd just knock, like it was an answer. My skin crawled. Did he say why? She shook her head. He just smiled and said, "You'll learn the language soon." I didn't realize I'd stepped closer to the door until I felt the cool wood under my palm. My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear. Adam? I said softly. If this is some kind of joke. The door creaked open, just an inch, enough for me to see that the light inside was flickering. Adam? I tried again. It's Lena, Nora's sister. Are you okay? The door swung wider, slow as a held breath. The bathroom was empty. Steam clung to the mirror, but there was no sound of running water, no footprints on the tile, no towel disturbed, just an open window above the tub, the curtain billowing inward. He was gone. Nora's hand flew to her mouth. He was just in there, she whispered. He was right there. I walked to the window, leaning out into the cold air. The ground below was slick from mist. There were faint impressions in the dirt, footprints leading toward the tree line behind the hotel. Bare footprints. He'd left without shoes. And then I saw something else, right on the edge of the sill. A smear of something dark, almost black, glinting in the moonlight. I touched it without thinking. Sticky, metallic, blood. I turned back to Nora. We're leaving, I said. She didn't move. She was staring at something on the nightstand. Lena, she whispered. The vows, look! I followed her gaze. The notebook with her handwritten vows, the one she'd read from at the altar, was open. But the handwriting wasn't hers anymore. The page was full of new words, written in neat, unfamiliar script. The body fits well. She believes enough to make it real. One night isn't long. She'll notice soon. I felt my stomach drop. What the hell? Nora backed away, shaking her head. He said something when we first came up here, she whispered. He said he was tired of pretending. I thought he meant the wedding stress, but what if, before she could finish, a sound came from outside. A voice. Low, calm, familiar. Lena? Nora? Why are you in there? We both froze. It was Adam's voice. I rushed to the window, and there he was, standing at the tree line, barefoot, wearing his wedding suit, mud on his face, smiling up at us. Hey, he called softly. You shouldn't be here. Nora grabbed my arm so hard it hurt. He's here, she whispered. But he's also... She pointed behind me. I turned, and for half a second, I thought my heart stopped, because standing in the doorway of the bathroom, pale, soaked, and grinning with Adam's same face, was another one, an exact copy. Water dripped from his hair. His pupils were blown wide like he was looking straight through me. He smiled wider. Told you, he said, voice low and wrong. The body fits well. Then everything went black. I woke up to the smell of damp earth and bleach. For a long time, I couldn't tell if my eyes were open or closed. Everything was gray, the kind of gray that eats edges. There was a sound nearby, slow and rhythmic, a drip, and somewhere under that, something breathing. My first thought was Nora. I tried to move, but my hands were tied. Rope. Not tight enough to hurt, but firm 2-4. Enough that struggling felt stupid. My wrists burned with a raw sting of friction. My throat was dry. My head pounded like I'd swallowed thunder. When my vision started to focus, I realized I was in a basement. Low ceiling, concrete walls, the smell of mildew and metal and something chemical. The floor was slick under me. In the corner, an old washing machine hummed quietly, like it had been running forever. And then I saw her. Nora. She was sitting against the far wall. Her dress dirty, hair tangled, eyes wide and red-rimmed. She wasn't tied, but her hands were shaking too much to untie mine. When she saw I was awake, she let out a sound. Half relief, half broken sob. Lena, she whispered, voice hoarse. I thought you were... Where are we? I croaked. I don't know. He brought us here. Who? She looked at me like I was stupid for asking. Him. Them. The words hit like a slap. I sat up slowly, my stomach rolling as I remembered the last thing before the blackout. Adam in the doorway, his smile stretching too wide, his voice echoing like two people speaking in sync. What happened? I asked. He dragged you out, she said. You hit your head. I tried to stop him, but he... Her voice broke. He picked me up like I was nothing. I kicked, I screamed, but it didn't matter. Then we were here. She looked around the room like she still didn't believe it. He's been talking to someone upstairs. Sounds like him, like another him. him. I felt my chest tighten. I mean there are two, she said, trembling. 2 Adams. One came back for us. The other stayed. Before I could ask more, footsteps creaked above us. Slow, deliberate. Then 2 voices, both unmistakably his, murmuring back and forth. One was steady, almost gentle. The other had that strange echo. Too smooth, too calm, as if replaying someone else's tone. Nora grabbed my wrist. Listen. She believes it, the first voice said. She always does, the second replied. How long? Until morning. And then, we start again. A door slammed. The footsteps came closer. Nora's grip tightened on my wrist, her nails digging in. We have to get out of here. I nodded, trying to steady my breathing. My brain started scanning the room. Old washer, shelves full of tools, cleaning supplies, extension cords, a drain in the middle of the floor. No windows, only a single wooden door at the top of a short staircase. I shifted my weight, trying to loosen the rope around my wrists. It slipped slightly. Can you? She was already there, fumbling with a knot, her fingers clumsy and trembling. I think I can. The door at the top of the stairs opened. We both froze. Light spilled down, pale yellow, cutting through the dark. And then Adam appeared, or one of them. He was barefoot, his shirt soaked through, his skin glistening as if with sweat, or something worse. He smiled when he saw me awake. You're up, he said, voice steady, normal, too normal. I was worried. Where are we? I asked, forcing my voice to stay even. In between, he said softly, stepping down one stair at a time. Just for a little while. What does that mean? He tilted his head. You wouldn't understand yet. It's not your turn. Behind him, another figure appeared. The other Adam, dry, clean, wearing the same suit from the wedding. He stopped at the top of the stairs, hands in his pockets, looking down at us with an expression I couldn't read. She's not ready, the second one said. The one closest to us smiled wider. That's what makes her perfect. Nora pulled me closer, whispering, we have to run. The second Adam sighed. You said that last time too. Last time. The phrase hit me like a slap. What do you mean, last time? I demanded. Neither of them answered. The first Adam reached the bottom step. The air around him felt wrong, heavy, charged, like before a storm. His eyes flickered, not glowing, but shifting, as if something inside them was trying to settle into place. He crouched down, looking at me. You shouldn't have come, he said quietly. She was supposed to stay asleep. My skin crawled. Who are you? His smile faded. I'm what's left when love doesn't stop. Then from above, there was another sound. A voice, soft and distant, calling my name. Lena? It was my voice. I froze. Nora's mouth fell open. What the hell? The second Adam looked up the stairs and smiled faintly. Right on time. And before I could move, before I could process what that even meant, something heavy fell down the stairs. A shadow, a shape, and hit the floor with a wet thud. It was a body, mine, same dress, same bruises, same everything except the eyes were open and they were smiling. Nora screamed. I don't even remember doing it with her, but the sound ripped through the air, cutting off whatever the Adams had been about to say. Then chaos, motion, the scraping of chairs, the slam of feet on concrete. I pulled free from the ropes, my wrist burning, and grabbed my sister. Run! We didn't think, we just ran. The staircase was narrow, slick with moisture, but adrenaline made the steps blur. I shoved the top door open and stumbled into what looked like a living room. Old, musty, curtains drawn. Furniture covered in sheets, no lights, only moonlight filtering through thin gaps. The house smelled wrong, like rot and lavender. We bolted for the front door. It was locked. The handle turned, but the bolt wouldn't move. Behind us, footsteps thundered up the stairs. Nora fumbled with the lock. It's stuck! Move! I shouted, kicking it hard. It splintered, just enough for the latch to bend. I shoved again, and the door flew open. Cold night air hit my face like a slap. We ran. Branches whipped our faces. The ground was uneven, soft with moss and mud. The trees loomed close, and the fog hung low, twisting around us. Somewhere behind, I heard 2 voices yelling at once. Both Adams, both furious. Stop running! We didn't. We kept going until the forest opened up into a road, the same road leading to the hotel. I saw the glow of streetlights ahead and nearly collapsed from relief. Nora grabbed my hand, sobbing. Don't stop! Don't stop! We stumbled onto the asphalt just as headlights flared in the distance. A car coming fast. I waved both arms like a maniac. The tires screeched. The driver braked hard, window rolling down. Jesus Christ! A man shouted. Are you okay? I ran to his window. Please, call the police! They're coming! And then Nora screamed again. I turned. She was standing in the middle of the road, staring back toward the trees, because at the edge of the woods, just visible in the fog, were 2 Adams, both smiling. And right between them, holding hands, was another me, still in the wedding dress, smiling, the same smile. The man in the car yelled something I didn't hear. The world tilted. Then everything went dark again. When I opened my eyes again, everything was bright. Too bright. For a second, I thought I was dead, that this was whatever came after. Then the smell of disinfectant hit me, and I realized I was in a hospital room. The steady beep, beep of a heart monitor pulsed at my side. My throat ached. My wrists were bandaged, and my chest felt tight like someone had been pressing down on it while I slept. Nora was sitting in the chair next to me. Her dress was gone, replaced by a pair of hospital scrubs. She looked worse than I'd ever seen her. Hollow-eyed, pale, her hair tied back in a messy knot. When she saw me stir, she straightened. You're awake, she whispered. I tried to speak, but my voice came out as a rasp. Where are we? County General, she said. They brought us here after... Her voice faltered. After they found us on the road. What happened? She swallowed hard, eyes darting toward the window. They said we were both in shock. You passed out. The guy who stopped his car. He called 911. When the police came, they searched the woods. And... Her mouth trembled. They didn't find them. Not the Adams. Not the other you. Nothing. I closed my eyes, the memory slamming back like a wave. The 2 identical Adams standing side by side, smiling in the fog, and that thing wearing my face between them. them. They think we imagined it, she said softly. That we were hysterical. The cops said we'd been through a trauma, that maybe it was a shared delusion. I turned my head slowly toward her. You don't believe that? She hesitated. I don't know what I believe. There was a long silence. The clock on the wall ticked in perfect rhythm with a heart monitor. Finally, I said, did they check the hotel? She nodded. They didn't find anything. No basement, no blood, no footprints. It's like that place never existed. But it did, I said. My voice shook. We were there. I saw them. I saw them, Nora. Her eyes filled with tears. I know. I saw them too. We didn't speak again for a long time. The nurse came in, checked my vitals, gave me water. I tried to drink, but it tasted wrong. Too metallic. That night, I couldn't sleep. The hospital room felt too still, too white. Around 3 a.m., I sat up and stared at the window. Something about the reflection caught my attention. In the glass, I could see the room. Me, the bed, the heart monitor. But there was something else too. A shadow. Standing just behind Nora's chair. It looked like Adam. I blinked hard, and it was gone. They discharged us 2 days later. The police insisted on driving us home. 2 officers, one young, one older, helped carry our bags into Nora's apartment, talking to each other like we weren't there. They said the forest was clear. The younger one, 3-4, muttered. Nothing. No prints, no fibers, just some weird indentations by the tree line. What kind of indentations? I asked. He paused, like something heavy was dragged, but no sign of people. The older officer gave him a look that said, shut up, and that was the end of that conversation. When they left, Nora turned to me. You think they'll come back? I didn't answer, because deep down, I already knew the answer. Yes. The first week back felt almost normal. In that fragile, fake way you pretend life can resume after it's been cracked open. Nora went back to her shop. I stayed with her because neither of us wanted to be alone. She didn't talk about Adam. She packed away her wedding photos, her dress, everything. But the silence between us was too loud. Every time the doorbell rang, she'd jump. Every time she passed a mirror, she'd glance twice. The third night, she woke me up at 2 a.m. Lena, she whispered from the doorway. Do you hear that? I sat up, heart hammering. Hear what? The knocking. And then I heard it. 3 slow, deliberate knocks from somewhere below us. We both froze. It came again. 3 knocks. From the front door this time. I grabbed the baseball bat Nora kept by her bed and motioned for her to stay behind me. We crept down the hallway, every floorboard creaking like it was screaming at us to stop. When we reached the living room, I could see the outline of someone standing on the porch through the frosted glass. Tall, still. Who is it? I called. Silence. Then, a voice. Low, calm, familiar. Nora, it's me. Can you open the door? My stomach turned to ice. Adam. Nora's eyes widened. That's his voice, she whispered. No, I hissed. It's their voice. We didn't move. He knocked again, softer this time. Please, Nora. It's cold. Just let me in. We can talk. She took a step forward, tears spilling down her cheeks. What if it's really him? It's not, I said, gripping her arm. He's gone. Whatever that is, it's not him. Then the voice changed. Lena, please. My chest clenched. The way he said my name, it was exactly right. Every cadence, every softness. He knew how to sound like the people you loved. The door handle rattled. I raised the bat, ready to swing if it opened. But then, silence. When I finally dared to look through the peephole, the porch was empty, except for a box. A small, square box wrapped in white paper. I didn't want to touch it. Every cell in my body screamed not to. But Nora did. She picked it up with shaking hands, set it on the table, and unwrapped it slowly. Inside was a photograph. Our wedding photo. Except in this version, Adam wasn't standing next to Nora. He was standing next to me, and both of us were smiling. That night, Nora didn't sleep. She sat on the couch holding that photo like it was poison, whispering over and over, why me? Why us? I didn't have an answer. But when I looked closer at the photo, I noticed something strange. Behind us, in the background, was a mirror. And in that reflection, standing in the doorway of the chapel, was another version of Adam. Watching, waiting, smiling. The next morning, I found Nora's bed empty. Her phone on the nightstand, her car keys gone, and on her pillow, a folded note in that same neat handwriting we'd seen before. The body fits well. You'll believe enough to make it real. She's home now. I found her car first. Was parked on the shoulder near the old bridge on Highway 14, just outside of town. Driver's door open, engine still idling, radio whispering static. Her purse sat on the passenger seat. The keys dangled from the ignition like a joke someone forgot to finish. No sign of Nora. The police came, asked the same questions they always do. When did you last see her? Did she seem upset? I gave the same useless answers. This morning. Yes. They searched for 2 days. Drones, dogs, local volunteers, the kind of search that eats whole towns alive. But they found nothing. No tracks, no clothes, no body. It was like she'd walked into the fog and simply stayed there. The night after the search was called off, I went back to the bridge myself. I know how that sounds. Everyone said it. The police, the therapist, even Nate, who'd seen enough by now to know better. They said I was too close, too traumatized, that I was inviting madness. But the truth was, madness had already moved in. I parked in the same spot where her car had been and stepped out into the cold. The fog was thick again, swallowing the world beyond a few feet. The sound of the river below was low, almost like breathing. I walked to the middle of the bridge, where the guardrail was bent slightly. Maybe from a storm, maybe from something heavier. My hands trembled against the rusted metal. Then I saw it. A box, sitting on the concrete ledge. White paper. Perfect corners. The same kind as before. I should have turned back. I should have thrown it into the river without touching it. But curiosity and fear are cousins. They hold your hand and whisper the same lies. I opened it. Inside was a Polaroid. Nora, standing in the fog, smiling. Behind her, half visible in the mist, was Adam and me. My throat went dry. I flipped the photo over. On the back, in that that familiar handwriting. You said it once for her. Say it again for us. We're waiting. I dropped the box. It clattered to the ground, rolling to the edge of the bridge. Then I heard it. A knock. 3 slow knocks. Not on wood, not on metal, but from inside the fog. I backed up, heart slamming. Who's there? A pause. Then a voice. Lena. It was Nora's voice. Soft, calm. Come home. My eyes burned. Where are you? Here, she said. It's better here. We can start again. Her voice was close now. Too close. And then she stepped out of the fog. She looked the same. Dressed clean, eyes clear, face serene. Only there was something wrong. Too smooth, too symmetrical, like Adam's had been. Nora? She smiled. You shouldn't have come alone. Behind her, the fog rippled. 2 silhouettes emerged. Adam and another me. The other me looked tired, hollow, but her eyes were alive in a way that made me feel dead. She smiled faintly. You never should have stopped believing. I stumbled back. You're not real. They stepped closer. The air between us buzzed, thick and electric. We are now, my double whispered, because you made us. What do you want? I demanded. They all smiled. To finish what you started. And then, in perfect unison, they reached out their hands. Say it, my double said. Say you believe. The fog swirled around me, thick as smoke. My vision blurred. For a second, I saw flashes. The wedding, the vows, Adam's face splitting into 2, Nora's scream. I realized then what it all meant. The copies weren't ghosts. They weren't people. They were echoes. Left behind by the parts of us that believed too hard. The promises we said. The love we refused to bury. Every vow was a seed, and the lake, the fog, the mirror, whatever it was, gave them roots. They weren't haunting us. They were becoming us. And now they wanted me to join them. I don't remember running. Only the cold. The sound of the river roaring below. My lungs tearing themselves apart. When I reached my car, I turned the engine and didn't stop driving until the fog was gone. Until dawn cracked open the horizon. I didn't tell the police what I saw. They'd just smile, that quiet, practiced smile that means we think you're grieving wrong. But I moved. Changed my number. Changed my life. Still, some nights it finds me. The fog. The knock. Always 3. And sometimes when I dream, I see Nora and Adam standing together, hand in hand, waiting. Sometimes I hear my own voice behind them, whispering, the body fits well. Last week I got a letter. No return address. Inside, a wedding invitation. Nora Carter and Lena Morgan. October 15th, 2026. The location. The Glass Conservatory. The same place where it all began. And at the bottom, written in delicate script, you said yes once. Say it again. End of story.